Hi guys, and welcome to my list for my best films of 2013 and my worst films. This year has been a bit strange for movies because it started off with some pretty bad ones, and then it got slightly better but still disappointing. However, later in the year is where 2013 really redeemed itself. We had ourselves some seriously good movies. Now I'm going to start this video with my least favourites of the year so we can get the negativity out of the way. I actually didn't see that many bad films this year, mercifully. I know there were some, but I avoided the ones I knew were going to be bad. In no particular order, here are my least favourite films of 2013. Only God Forgives was, in my opinion, horrendous. It split people like Marmite, so some loved it and some hated it. I fucking hated this movie. It was a train wreck of a film because it was so in love with itself, and for no reason at all. Winding Refn was like, I'm clever, I can make this film look beautiful and have loads of characters that don't say anything, make the film ridiculously violent because I have a fetish, and basically make it look like an art house movie, and he failed in pretty much every possible way. The karaoke scene, what the fuck was that? The scene where Gosling puts his hand into his mother's dead body and moves it around and then walks away, that was abysmal. It's absolutely awful. I don't care if this film looks good or has a hidden message about God. It was garbage for me. I hated it. Next up is Grown Ups 2. I actually kind of liked the first one. It had a bit of a message about the modern generation of children, and I thought it was a bit of fun, to be honest. I mean, the only reason why I watched it in the first place was because of Kevin James. But it wasn't a bad film. It wasn't great. But I didn't have a big problem with it, and I'd probably revisit it sometime. However, this one is a bad film, but it's not an awful film. If I had to pick which one to watch, Grown Ups 2 or Only God Forgives, I would pick Grown Ups 2 because I didn't actually hate myself while watching it, and I didn't have to think about what I'm watching. It's a very lazy film, and the reason why it's on my worst films list is generally because I have no idea what this film's about. Yeah, I just have no idea, no clue. I mean, the script could have been written by a pair of monkeys, Adam Sandler, and there is no plot to Grown Ups 2 at all, so I can't really recommend it. I mean, if it's on TV, go and check it out, maybe, but otherwise, don't bother. Up next is Iron Man 3, and I'm not going to talk about this one because I dedicated a separate video to why I think this film sucked. I'll have an annotation up in the top left hand corner now. So go and check that out if you want to know my thoughts on it, and I'll get on with my top films of 2013. Now, before I get on with my favourites of 2013, I just want to go through some honourable mentions that won't be making the list for just so they weren't good as the ones that I put on the list, basically. Kick-Ass 2 was a disappointing film. It's still a good film, but disappointing in lots of ways, especially compared to the first one. It was a disappointing film for me. Evil Dead, a film I absolutely loved, really liked that film. It was really close to being up there, but it didn't quite make it. Man of Steel, another really good film that I really liked, but it just didn't cut it for the top 10. Oblivion was a good film with Tom Cruise. I really enjoyed that film. It was people felt very mixed on it, but again, not making the list. Monsters University was a really good Pixar film. I really enjoyed that one, actually. Very surprised that didn't make the list because I really like that one. The World's End, really disappointing film. It wasn't funny, basically. Great action, great characters, great premise, just wasn't funny. So, and that's what I wanted with the conclusion to the Cornetto trilogy. I wanted a good conclusion, and it just wasn't funny. So, didn't make the list. Don John, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's directorial debut. Great film. Really enjoyed that one, actually. Again, very close to making the list, but it didn't quite cut it. So they're my honourable mentions. I just want to quickly go through the films that I missed, that I couldn't get to for one reason or another. Some of them aren't even out in the UK till January. So, yeah, Rush, I didn't catch. I really wanted to see that one, but I couldn't get to see that one. Frozen, The Wolf of Wall Street, which isn't coming out till January, really annoyingly. I really wanted to make that part of the list, but it didn't quite cut it. because it was in January and I haven't seen it yet. Philomena, I didn't watch that. I've heard a lot of good things about that. Saving Private Ryan, Saving Mr. Banks. I heard a lot of good things about that. I'm not in a rush to see it, to be honest. That's all I can say for that film. The Hunger Games, Catching Fire, didn't see. Haven't seen the first one. Thor: The Dark World, haven't seen again. So yeah, they're my honourable mentions and films I missed, which is why you won't be seeing them on my list. So now I'm going to be talking about my favourite movies of 2013. Now this was a very hard list to construct, so I hope you enjoy my picks, and without further ado, let's crack on with number 10. Star Trek Into Darkness was a very strong sci-fi film and was a great entry into the series. I've always been a fan of the films, and this one really was fantastic. The cast was great, and Zachary Quinto is a magnificent Spock, and Benedict Cumberbatch killed it as Khan. Although I did have some problems with the film, mainly with certain plot points, I still think it's a great summer blockbuster that you should check out, and I really enjoyed it. Number 9. The Conjuring was a terrific horror movie that I've now seen multiple times. It's scary and has a great storyline. The acting was top notch, with great performances from Patrick Wilson, Vera Farmiga and Lily Taylor. It told an eerie story of demonic possession and was brilliantly shot by James Wan. I did have some problems with the film, and it mainly lied within the performance by Ron Livingston. Very, very wooden. Looked like a Thunderbird. And just wasn't very good at all. The third time watching the film, I noticed in the bit where they're exercising the woman that's possessed, I was watching his face in the background, and it is completely plastic. He is just looking at it like nothing's happening, and he's the husband watching his wife get possessed. I was actually quite shocked by how they thought that was appropriate in a scene that's in a fantastic film. So thumbs down for this guy. I think he did an awful job, actually. Very, very wooden, and just pointless, to be honest. It could have been played much better, but a very, very small problem with the film because he's not a big part of it. So I'm not going to really, delve too deep into that, because it's a great, great film and I love the hell out of it. Number 8. The Place Beyond the Pines was a brilliant film with an Oscar-worthy performance from Bradley Cooper. A truly amazing film featuring two different perspectives of the story. The first half concentrates on Ryan Gosling's character and the other half on how Bradley Cooper got involved with the story. Great acting across the board. I love pretty much every scene. I did have a couple of problems with the film. Some scenes dragged on a little bit too much, and I do think that did just knock the film down a couple of stages on my list, because it does have some problems, and I do think it's slightly overrated. I mean, it's a good film, it's a great film, that's why it's number 8, but I do think it has some problems, and I just don't think it's a perfect film. I think it's a good film, and wholly original. And brilliantly directed, and I loved the first half of the film, loved it, 10 out of 10, A+, any day of the week. But the second half is so good, it's brilliant, but it just falls apart a little bit, and not completely, but it just slows down, and I did lose interest in a couple of scenes, but it's still a fantastic film that I will rewatch definitely in the future sometime. Number 7. Next up is Lincoln, an absolutely fantastic film that came out right at the beginning of the year. So for the Americans it would have been on their 2012 list, but for us in the UK it's going to be on my 2013 list. A really fantastic film, an inspirational performance by Daniel Day-Lewis. As always from that man, he really, really can act, and much deserved Oscar, and pretty much everyone in the film is Oscar worthy, to be honest. Everyone and everything is Oscar worthy, probably why it was nominated for 10 Oscars or something. It was amazingly well done, and it said that Steven Spielberg spent 12 years making this film, getting all the information so it was factually correct. It was really a lot of work went into this film, and it teaches you a lot about Lincoln's last days and in presidency, and a truly amazing story. brilliantly directed by Steven Spielberg, and really, really well written. It's one of the best biographies I've ever seen. Genuinely, it was an absolutely amazing film, and no way was it not going to get on my top 10. Number 6. The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug was a very, very good film. Just come out, and I caught it, and it was a really, really good film. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's an improvement over the first one. The storyline is brilliant with some amazing action sequences, especially the barrel scene being my favourite, and some great dialogue as well. Even though I think the film does overstay its welcome, and some scenes should have been saved for the extended edition, it's overall a very good film. I do have some problems, with the fact that Legolas was, kind of shoehorned into the film when he didn't really need to be there. But it was a really, really good film. I did enjoy it. It's a good film. Number 5. Captain Phillips was a terrific film, and Tom Hanks delivers one of the best performances of the year. The acting from the pirates was really, really realistic and amazing for their debut performances. Just an absolute thrill ride from start to finish. I loved Captain Phillips. It was one of those films where you're just stuck to your seat and you just can't move. It was a great, great film. Really, really loved it. Some people had an issue with it maybe overstaying its welcome. I can kind of get that maybe. But it was really, 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 really good, and I don't really want to fault it too much. It's really high on my list now. These are getting to the films where I'm really struggling to find problems with. Brilliantly directed by Paul Greengrass, giving his realistic return to form kind of directing that he did with United 93. Took a break from that sort of thing, but I'm glad he's back with it because he's making some really, really, really good films again. So Captain Phillips is no exception. Number 4. Blue is the Warmest Colour is a French film and an art house film, and not many people in the UK would have seen it, but I'm so glad I got a chance to see it. It's one of the best films I've seen in past years. I absolutely love this film, and it's really, really does prove to you how good it is because it breaks all the rules of what I don't really like in a film. It's long, and and I have to read subtitles because it's in French, so that just proves to you how much I loved it, even though it just breaks the rules of what I love in a movie. So yeah, it's absolutely amazing. The film spans years of these two girls' relationships until its eventual end. Brilliantly written, and it is just even more engaging scene after scene. The film really teaches you what it is like for outcasts and trying to fit in with the in crowd, to be called. And it's so beautifully shot and well acted that it kept my attention for its lengthy runtime of 3 hours 7 minutes. It was just engaging, so engaging. Just these two characters, brilliant, both Oscar worthy, easily. They're just absolutely fantastic in this film. I loved it. It's flawless, and yeah, absolutely fantastic. Number 3. Prisoners was an absolutely fantastic film with two terrific performances from both Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal, both Oscar-worthy. Very, very emotionally heavy, and I really do mean that when I say that. With this film, it's Jesus Christ. I don't know how parents saw this film and just they wouldn't have had a nice night. Really, really, really hits you, and that's coming from someone who doesn't have children. Who's, hasn't even, I'm still a child, who doesn't even think to begin what it would be like to lose your children, and that really does show you how impactful this film is. Beautifully shot with a blend of Roger Deakins' fantastic cinematography and the immaculate editing. It's definitely one of the best films of the year, just absolutely amazing. I urge you to check Prisoners out, even though it's very hard-hitting. I think it's, definitely worth it. It's an absolutely fantastic film. Number 2. Django Unchained was an incredible film. Really, really amazing. One of Quentin Tarantino's best films, and one of my favourite films of all time now. Just My favourite film of all time is Pulp Fiction, so and he's my favourite director, so I will watch anything that he produces, and I was so pumped for Django Unchained, and it didn't let me down in any way. It's people moan that it's overlong, but please do tell me, what scene would you cut out? And if you give me a reason, then fine. But most people won't be able to answer that, because there isn't one scene that needs to be edited out, because it's all worth it, and it's incredible. Quentin's dialogue is once again mesmerising. Just, God, man, that guy can write films. Just wow, he's talented, and it's an amazing film. And I've heard that he's writing another Western as we speak, and I can't wait for that, because this one was a real winner. Number 1. Gravity is one of the best films I have ever seen. Groundbreaking visual effects that should sweep the Oscars, hopefully. The effects literally make you feel like you were in space with Sandra Bullock and Clooney. And, you know, I'm glad I stopped where I did, because, you know, I'm glad the film stopped where it did. Because, you know, there's only so much you could do with the story that it has. Probably got the best 3D I've ever seen. That's including Avatar and Life of Pi. Amazingly directed by Alfonso Cuarón. Just he's knocked it out of the park again. Man, Gravity is I don't know how to describe it in words. Just watch it. I would compare it to 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's I'm tempted to say it's on my top 20, top 10 of all time. I loved it. I loved it. I've seen it twice now. And I was going to see it for the third time, but I thought I'd wait for the Blu-ray. But man, Gravity is definitely number 1 for the year. And it makes up for the disappointing year that we have had. And it's really made it up in the last couple of months with films. 2013 has really redeemed itself. And Gravity has really set the bar high for anything. It's so good, guys. If you haven't checked Gravity out, please check it out. You won't be disappointed with it. Well, hopefully you won't anyway. So yeah, that's my top 10 list of 2013. I hope 2014 will bring us some great films again. You know, some of these films that came out in the late months of 2013 were films I weren't even expecting to come. So hopefully in 2014 we'll get some new films that we're not expecting to see. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to 2014. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Catch you later, guys.